Good day, beautiful souls. I hope you're having a great day today. The spirits warned us that things were about to intensify, and boy, that seems to be an understatement. Just last week, we discussed this coming window of time that we are now bathing in, and it appears that global chaos and chaos right here in the United States of America has begun. Huge clashes, I'm sure you're aware of, that have happened in Los Angeles as the so called peaceful protesters once again begin to burn down the city, setting innocent people's vehicles ablaze, throwing rocks at vehicles, and even using hammers to break apart the concrete. And you think this is bad, friends? Well, hold on tight, friends, because this coming weekend is going to be a weekend that probably likely goes down in the history books. And I'm going to tell you all about that today. We have not only just stepped in, we have not even stepped into the full moon energy yet. That kicks off tomorrow. You're watching this on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, depending on where in the world you are. But that full moon's going to kick in, and we are bathing in that full moon energy right now. So what's that going to bring? Besides more heightened emotions, likely more angry people taking to the streets. How can this, if at all, benefit us in the long run? Because these things will, believe it or not, benefit us in some way in the long run. The dates June 14th and June 15th we previously mentioned in the show, even in my June forecast. So what could possibly go wrong in this coming weekend with the things that are already playing out? Well, friends, a whole lot could and likely will go wrong. Bigger protests are going to break out this coming weekend, and a potential for some type of fear-like attacks happening right here in the United States of America. And I'm going to tell you all about that today. So many predictions now flowing into reality, one after the other. The feud between Musk and President Trump, the eruption of Mount Etna, earthquakes around Yellowstone National Park, the chaos in Los Angeles, rioting in Paris. It just seems to go on and on, friends. Military on the streets of LA. I've seen this in past visions. It's all now playing out. So what's next? There's a lot next. And well, friends, we are only not just stepping into it. Things are about to go beyond the level of cray-cray. Seriously. And we have now China is now threatening the United States, while here in the United States, 2 Chinese students were apprehended with a very serious pathogen that could literally destroy agriculture, harm animals, and even harm humans. What's up with that? Well, friends, China has a plan. I've been telling you this for years. And I also stated in the past that I felt that there was going to be some type of a Pearl Harbor attack coming to the United States. This was even in past channel prediction, I believe, going back to late 2023 or early 2024. Some things take longer to play out. So is this on our doorsteps now as China continues to buy up farmland in the United States and near military installations? While here in they even tried it here in, Arizona. And of course, Arizona Katie Hobbs, the veto queen crook, vetoed the bill that would have stopped China from buying farmland here in Arizona. Wonder who bought and paid for her seat. Just a thought. Why would you not stop that from happening? We know it's a grave danger to our country and to our military bases. And as if this thing could not appear to get worse, Iran resisted the nuclear deals with the United States and basically gave the United States the middle finger, saying, we're going to do whatever we want. And they gave the Israels the finger too. And that was topped off, friends, by China sending 800 missiles to the Iranians. Did you hear about that? You won't hear about that on your local news. Shouldn't watch the local news anyway. Are we about to see another huge conflict break out? Is the United States about to enter into some type of major conflict? Perhaps we're actually already in that conflict. Perhaps that third global conflict is already happening. It's just happening in a different way. And it just hasn't gone to full-fledged, called out conflict. We have more doomsday oarfish washing up upon the shores. Australia and Tasmania. We had another one wash up in New Zealand. Another one wash up in India. I mean, it's one thing to see one wash up, but 3 in 1 week? I think the good Lord's trying to tell us something. And the water spirits are trying to tell us something. And I have no doubt we're going to see at least 2 more of these doomsday fish wash ashore in the coming week. And when they do, this is going to be a sure sign of a coming disaster. Or could it be? Maybe it's not. Is it all just a myth? We're going to cover that today. Perhaps multiple, oarfish washing ashore. Is Mother Earth about to strike us really, really, really hard? I mean, she's got to be fed up with humanity quite a bit. I'd be if I were her. Or could it just be a part of some kind of secret conflict that's happening, being initiated with technology, using the weather? Could be. Could be a combination of both. The Diddy case is coming to a close while we still sit back and wait for these so-called Epstein files to be released. And just recently, Elon Musk, as you know, tweeted that, they weren't released because the president is part of it. Well, he has since then, from what I heard, I didn't look, deleted those tweets. Interesting enough. Is anything going to happen from that case? Well, I've said it would a long time ago. And what about Diddy? What about that case? You're going to be really surprised by my answer, because I was surprised that things shifted and changed quite a bit. And speaking of creepy, again, how about those Epstein files? Will they ever be released? Is the president actually a part of that ring? Will anybody, most importantly, be held accountable? That's what we really want to see. People being held accountable. So much is going on in the world, friends. Literally, so much and so much more is about to hit as things intensify more and more. The true fireworks are truly going to begin on July 4th. Of course they are. So let's closely look at the past week's global events, how they relate to past predictions, and predictions I feel that are going to be coming into the light in the very near future. So get that there tea kettle whistling, friends, because you know what time it is. It's Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time, baby. Well, friends, the spirits did warn us to hold on tight, that the coming week was going to get really tense, and it sure has gotten really intense. And the full moon hasn't even arrived yet. The full moon in Sagittarius officially arrives on June 11th, 12:44. That's a magical number in itself. Arizona time, that is. And depending on where in the globe you may actually reside. For some of you, I guess that would be, I don't know. It depends on where you live in the world. But that's what time it comes in. Wednesday, the 11th at 12:44 Arizona time, 3:44 a.m. East Coast time. And this is an 11 vibrational day, which is actually going to intensify the effects of the full moon. That 11 is also the angelic frequency, so remember that. So during this period, as I told you last week, you can expect to have heightened dreams, heightened intuition, perhaps visions of your own of future events, future things playing out in your personal life, and more importantly, being able to connect with loved ones, angels, angelic energies, and the spirits through meditation and paranormal activity, of course. That's going to heighten. So therefore, I would expect even maybe some sky events to heighten over the next week, too, and over the next couple days. But this 11 vibrational energy and the full moon in Sagittarius, it's all going to, it's going to be wild. And keep in mind that it's a 7-day energy effect. Minimum 7-day energy effect. The full moon energy started rolling in on Sunday, 3 days before the full moon kicks in, and then 3 days after. So we're going to be feeling the intensity of this full moon all the way through this coming weekend. Saturday the 14th could likely be the most intense of all the days after the full moon. Sometimes it's not just the day of the full moon. Sometimes it's a few days after that things intensify. Sometimes we see big earthquakes on the full moon. Sometimes we see them more often, a few days after the full moon. Sometimes right before, too, but most commonly right after the full moon kicks in. So how's that going to play out? I'm not as more concerned with this full moon as I am the new moon that's coming up. And then the full moon that comes in July, which I think is somewhere around July 10th. So that's going to be an interesting time. But Saturday the 14th feels to me that it could be the most intense day. A date that has previously jumped out at me that I mentioned in my June forecast, if you recall. And then this past Sunday, we had Mercury entering into the sign of Cancer, definitely bringing up emotions, as we saw play out in Los Angeles. Or it's more like folks unable to control those emotions. And that can be often the case sometimes with different water signs, depending on what they're mixed with, what other signs, but, failure to control the emotions. And on Monday, which is today when I'm filming this, it's actually Monday evening here when I'm filming this, June 9th at 5:40 p.m. in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. So on today, Monday, yesterday, for you watching this on Tuesday, we had Jupiter enter Cancer. So both of these together are going to highlight family, the home, and safety. So probably a good reason for everybody to avoid crowds and avoid those protests in this coming week especially. But even in the coming weeks, stay away from it. This is also going to highlight mental illness. This is going to, and I said this in the past, it's going to bring mental illness to the forefront. Which also, to bring things to the forefront helps us to bring healing towards it. We have to focus on the problem and know the problem exists and how bad the problem is before people actually start to look at ways to fix that problem. It's just the way it works. So we can look at this as a good thing, that mental health can come into focus as a way of better helping people with those issues. At the same time, we're going to see this play out on the global stage with people, going a little bit cuckoo, like the cuckoo clock. My grandma had cuckoo clocks from Germany. They were awesome. Wish I would have got one. The cousins scrounged up everything. So hopefully giving us, this is also this whole focus on highlighting on mental illness. This hopefully will give us more focus on healing, because these energies are also about healing through the process of emotions, and then also new healing modalities that can assist people that are suffering through mental illness. Natural healing modalities. Not another different kind of pill, but natural stuff, friends. Natural frequencies that we're going to see that discover how it affects the brain and how it shifts the brain, and working on mental illness through other things like plant medicines and such. This also puts us into this window of time with these transits where climate change is going to become a big focus. Yeah, I know you're probably thinking, isn't it already a big focus? Aren't they constantly shoving it down our throats? Yes, of course they are. But this is going to become much larger focus, likely due to some type of major weather events and earth events that are going to play out over the next 3 to 4 weeks, many which are in my predictions for the end of this month and early July. So next Tuesday, the 17th of June, Mars is going to enter Virgo, my sun sign. And this can bring focus towards workers' rights, people standing up for their rights when it comes to the work environment. So in turn, it also focuses on public health and on infrastructure. So therefore, I would expect protests to begin forming around strikes, not just the protests we're seeing in the whatever they're protesting, anti-immigration here, and protests that are going to break out in UK. I see more protests happening in Australia, and even something going on in Italy with protests coming up. That's an interesting one. Italy, and we already just saw what played out in Paris, but that's all just coming to me now, just so you know. So going back to this, Mars is entering Virgo on the 17th. It's going to focus on public health, workers' rights, and infrastructure. So you're going to see a lot more protests that are more not protests, but strikes. Basically, people walking off the job. Or even protests outside of banks and financial institutions coming up over the next month. This alignment can also bring in a surge of environmental cleanup efforts, which is good. We want to clean up the environment, but what's going to bring a surge in environmental cleanup efforts? That's the question. It's an easy question because to me, it makes me believe without hesitation that we are about to witness major environmental disasters taking place, unfortunately. And I've said this again in June's forecast, especially back last month, actually, I believe I said it, major oil and gas line eruptions, spills, things related to that. And this will bring that to more of a focus, too, where people aren't going to want that anymore. Humanity is going to get fed up with the conflicts, with, the environmental abuse that's happening to our planet, that's being caused by these corporations, governments, and what have you. We're also going to see more explosions, boom booms, due to gas leaks, of course. And this also would make sense to my feelings and my past prediction that a major volcanic or earthquake activity will reach an all-time high. Again, we're looking at that alignment and how it can have to do with focusing on cleaning up the environment and environmental disasters. So therefore, being that focus is there, there's got to be environmental disasters that are on our doorstep. Something that is going to happen again, like an earthquake, causing the world to literally stop. I've been feeling that for a while. When the whole world stops, they stop cold in their tracks, stop looking at what the conflicts are, stop looking at the protests, and they're looking at the big event that Mother Earth is shedding upon the planet. That's enough to wake people up right there in itself. And in turn, this would cause people to react with humanitarian aid. And again, cleanup of many collapsed infrastructures after events take place. Now, some of this could be conflict related, of course. Of course. I told you that's not going to settle down anytime soon. I would love to give you some great news, but this is the window of time that we're in, friends. These are the times that we are in. This is all part of the major transformation of our planet and of humanity. Everything is about changing. Everything is changing, not about changing. It is changing, and it's about to change even more. Get excited about it, because in the long run, it's going to be for the best of all. Including, the chaos around the world, and the maps of the world are going to shift and change. The geography of the earth is going to change. The governments and the control that they have had on us for way too long is going to change. That's what I look forward to the most. When the dynasty families finally stop rolling over us. If you don't know about them 13 families, you can look that up yourself. But first, it's going to be the proper ascension and the light codes that are soon going to come, that are going to awaken people to the truth even more. And what these light codes do, here's a really interesting one for you. What these light codes do to some people, like for example, say government people, like somebody in the FBI, like the new FBI director, these light codes can affect them to a point that it makes them want to reveal the truth. So not only is it us getting the truth, it's these ascension codes that are making people shift and be like, wait, we need to share this with people. We need to bring this truth out. That's what gets exciting. That excites me. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm very, very excited. Knowing that soon so much truth and so many realities are going to be exposed. The corruption within our governments, the corrupt leaders, judges, celebrities, and how they all fit into this big web of darkness. It is a huge spiritual war that is happening right now between the dark and the light. And we're seeing a whole lot of the dark, but you got to know the light is there fighting for us, and the light will prevail in the end. And how many of them we'll discover how many of them actually do have direct connections, not just to Epstein, but something way, way bigger. Way bigger. Something way bigger is about to break. Epstein Diddy, that's going to look like change in your pocket compared to a bank account filled with millions. That's going to be the difference. And once again, friends, hold on tight. Because this roller coaster is about to go down a really big hill and through a whole bunch of loops. One loop after another. Beautiful tribe, I want to take a moment to welcome you back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If you are new here, welcome. We welcome you with big old air hugs. I am spiritual medium Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT. We welcome you with infinite love and gratitude. And if you are new here and you want accurate predictions, truth, prophecy, and you want to vibe with our awesome tribe, smash that there subscribe, the bell, and also that you hopefully get notifications. We know how, the system doesn't always want to send out notifications. And if you don't get a notification from me by Tuesday evening, Wednesday, depending on where you are in the world, go directly to the channel and make sure you're still subscribed, because that's another mystery that happens here very often, where all of a sudden you just disappear from the algorithms. So always make sure you're on top of it. And know that you can also hit that thumbs up love button, because that'll make sure this content continuously shows up on your feed and other similar content shows up on your feed, and so that we can help our tribe to grow. Down below in the description, you'll find all the links to my social media, including Rumble, Spotify. You can now find a lot of my shorts. I'm trying to upload at least one a day onto the TikTok. I just trying to push it there. Instagram. So make sure you go and follow me in those places. Make sure you follow the real me and not the fake me. And if you get a message on social media from someone that appears to be me, I assure you it is not me. So report those profiles immediately, especially if they're telling you they got a message for you or some kind of baloney like that. Don't follow it. Don't follow it at all. Also, down below, you'll find the link to the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community of supporters who help make this free content possible for everybody else, along with the supporters and the community on YouTube and all the contributors to this channel. I thank you with infinite loving gratitude. Lastly, I did a weather prediction video. I did 2 videos, actually. Weather prediction video, thoroughly. Went through all the names of the hurricanes, found some interesting information on that. And then also did a video on Friday about the whole, predictions coming into fruition with some other information in there that I won't repeat today. So be sure to check those out. And let us move on to episode number 170 of Tuesday's Tea Time. Let us first begin with the feud between President Trump and Elon Musk. Something I told you was inevitable and that it was going to happen. I told you this back before the elections took place. It was inevitable that these two guys who both like to be in charge all the time and always want to be right all the time, you can't put two people like that together for a very long period of time. Especially if they perhaps, I'm saying perhaps, they may even have some narcissistic tendencies together. So that don't work. They're bound to bang heads. Bound to bang heads. And Elon actually has the same birthday as my nephew coming up, June 28th. Cancer. Very, very sensitive individuals those cancers are. Very intuitive as well. Very, very intuitive. My moon sign happens to be in Cancer, Cancer's ruled by the moon. Cancers can often become obsessed when it comes to allowing their emotions to get in the way. Like when they're hurt, especially. When their feelings are hurt, they don't like that very much. And they can obsess on it. And obviously, there was a point where Musk was reaping out with emotions or obsessed emotions. Except, perhaps, he should have not let them play out on social media the way he did. Threatening the president of the United States or any president of any country. That's just not cool. Not cool, Elon. And I discussed this in the video again I posted on Friday. So I'm not going to go through all of it and show you all the tweets that have since been deleted, actually, many of them on Musk's end. Everybody just about has heard all about this and the details of their feud and the fact that Elon posted that the president would not release the Epstein files because he's a big part of it. Do you think that's true? Honestly, tap into your intuition. Do you really think that's true? Because I've reviewed the flight logs. His name's on there, with Ivana Trump, actually, as he said and admitted to in the past. And not only that, whether you want to believe it or not, I actually don't feel like he's wrapped up directly in that web of darkness, the Epstein criminal actions. It's just my feeling. Remember, don't shoot the messenger because you don't like the message. I'm the intuitive. I'm telling you what I feel. Not what I want, not what I care, because I really could care less about all of it. I just want all the corruption to be exposed. I don't care where it comes from. Just expose it. And make people accountable for it. That's all I ask for. That's all we should all ask for. And peace on earth, baby. Peace on earth. So, however, as I've been telling you since the Epstein case broke, in due time, the truth is going to be exposed, including videos. I told you there's videos. Somebody's sitting on those videos. They're going to get released eventually. And I feel that time might be approaching, hopefully is approaching really, really soon. Perhaps within the coming month or so. Especially with all the energies and things that are coming in July and August. That would be a shocking time to release all that stuff for sure. And what is more important, again, is will people be held accountable? Well, if we go back many years ago to my visions, it was a while back, many years ago. And sometimes things take a lot longer to play out than other things. But if we go back to these visions, I saw a vision of a huge profile arrests. Going back before Cosby. And then Cosby, I talked about a celebrity shocking arrest. And then it was Weinstein. And then I kept seeing more visions. And I saw visions of huge, high-profile arrests. The arrests of celebrities, politicians. And we saw Diddy. That was the most recent. Although we have not seen the larger roundup of these criminals that I saw in past visions. I saw like a roundup, like many, not all at once. We're only just seeing one here, one there. That's it so far. This is still on the table, says the spirits. And it will play out in the not far off future. So it'll be interesting. I don't know how far off that future is. We are in a 9-year of endings. It's time to bring this corruption to the table so that we can next year go into that new year of beginnings, the one vibration, get started all over again. And I feel that we're going to have some huge truth drops coming by the end of this month. Not necessarily connected to Epstein. More like government truths. Or something huge coming out of the White House, or the White House is releasing something huge at the very end of this month. Maybe the 29th, 30th, right around there. And back to Musk and Trump. As I said on Friday, I have no doubt that they're going to kiss and make up, perhaps ending in a final divorce down the line at some point. But Elon has already deleted some of his posts, even though they're still back and forth between the two. Elon calling for the impeachment of Trump. Remember, they tried that twice the last time. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They might try, but they won't be successful. And more than anything, his life is in danger. His life is in danger and has been for quite some time. I'm talking about President Trump for a long time. Both of them, actually. As we saw in July of last year. I even posted a video a couple days before that happened in Pennsylvania. To the T prediction. Details. Came to me multiple times. And that goes back to past predictions from last year. If we go back to past predictions after that attempt on Trump's life, I told you once again I felt that there was more coming. And I felt that one was going to be when he was either coming or going from a building to a vehicle. It totally reminded me of Ronald Reagan. And I said that. And I said that last year, maybe even a year and a half ago. I don't remember. I lose track of time. Which would make me also indicate thinking that he'd be shot in the shoulder. But I thought the same thing when he was on stage. I saw him being hit in the shoulder. But it was his ear, which is only a few inches away. But still, I still feel like a hit to the shoulder. A potential hit to the shoulder. Interesting enough. Now, that wasn't the only one. You know, it could be the same exact scenario as Ronald Reagan. The other attempt that I saw in the past in visions was on his motorcade. I saw an SUV charging down a crossroad. You know, the motorcade's coming this way, and this SUV's charging down a road sideways. And it felt to me like this SUV, you know, it felt explosive to me, if you know what I mean. It felt very explosive. And I feel he dodges both of these attempts once again. And one, to me, feels like it's very much directed and related to a foreign country. And they'll probably try to say Iran, but I don't feel like it's Iran. I feel like China is the one that really wants to take him out. Interesting. Of course they do. They just tried to bring a deadly pathogen into our country. And what did they get over the border from all the illegals that came over from China? I told you. I will get into that a little bit later. And as I always said since 2016, I stated the DT that I saw way back in 2016 would serve 2 terms and pass in the 3rd year of his 2nd term. And it felt to me like it was more natural terms. But that was back then. I don't know. I felt like it happens in the White House itself. Oh, maybe they'll sprinkle a little something on his food. The man needs to be careful. And that would take us to what year would that be? 2027, right? 2027, 25, 26, 2027. 2027, I can count, I can add. It's 2027. And I hope it's not true for one huge reason. Because Vance would take over, friends. And I can tell you right now that he is not for the good. He's bought and paid for. Very much bought and paid for. Vance got that seat because he was introduced to the president before he was president by that billionaire, Peter Thiel, the founder of Palantir, that dark company that Trump just gave all our data to. Did you hear about that one? Yeah, look that one up. Palantir. Who talked him into that? Of course, Vance did. And the company that wishes to control our country, our data, and God knows what else Palantir is up to. Palantir gives me the creeps. Big time. And if you don't believe me, again, do your own research on Peter Thiel and Palantir and what they're all about. Because Thiel's that also the same guy that likes to get blood transfusions that come from, teenagers that he believes and claims is an anti-aging thing. Perhaps it is. Still a little weird. And Spirit gave me a strong feeling that this is a part of the plan being orchestrated by the deep staters. Thiel's a big one of them. And Vance is one of their puppets. Maybe Vance don't realize it, but he is. And it reminds me of the whole JFK thing. Take out JFK, put the vice president in, that whole thing. It feels like so closely identical to that. Which means, of course, some of them deep staters would be wrapped within and weaved within those three-letter agencies. So Trump just needs to be super careful. Especially coming up the end of this month in July. Remember, it was July of last year. If I were him, he should bunker down in July and early August, especially when we're in that Mercury retrograde and intense energy shifts. He definitely should bunker down, friends. But he won't. I have also told you a while back that someone, perhaps several folks, maybe deep staters, want Elon Musk out of the picture completely as well. And I thought, now that they're having a feud with each other, maybe they don't want Elon out anymore. But I got that feeling today that was wrong. Somebody wants him out. And I feel there's almost like a hit on him. Like somebody, paid somebody to go after him and put it out, a hit on him. But who exactly? By who exactly? I don't know. I have no idea. In my past visions, though, if you recall, I felt that there was somebody high up, likely in a building or something, watching, waiting, and perhaps even taking a shot from above, high above, down towards Musk, as he's getting in or out of a vehicle as well. And I feel that, luckily for Musk, it feels to me like this person is going to be a bad shot, or there's going to be some kind of divine intervention that stops it from happening, or being fatal anyway. And many times I've said, we will see so many changes in power and assassination attempts and successes at the same time on leaders and people in power. And over the past week, there was an attempt on the life of the Colombian presidential political candidate that took place, leaving that presidential candidate in critical condition. Sounds kind of almost familiar in many cases. And there's so many more to come, friends. I see attacks coming in the United States, Australia, United Kingdom, and spreading globally. And it's attacks towards governors, mayors, heads of law enforcement, and many others that are going to become targeted individuals in some areas of the globe. So it's not just going to be leaders, it's going to be leaders of organizations, or leaders of groups and such. Cray world that we are living in. It's quite entertaining, though, at times, I say. And I told you all last week that people are about to act out on their emotions, and not necessarily in a good way. And we see this taking place. Let this all be a reminder for all of us to keep yourself grounded. Unplug from all those things that burden you. Turn off the telly if it burdens you. Turn off predictions if it burdens you. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Channel those emotions into something positive. So if you're angry, go for a run or go punch a punching bag. Go play in the garden. If you're sad, channel that emotion. Go do some artwork. Do something creative. Channeling those emotions in these coming months is going to be the best thing you can do to keep yourself grounded and out of the chaotic energies that are sweeping through and across our planet. I think pretty soon the word civil unrest is going to be an understatement. Makes me think of that song, I don't need your civil war, Guns N' Roses, baby. Over the past week, we have also begun to see people acting out in crazy ways. starting with our friends there in France. France, Paris, France. You didn't see? In my past vision, remember, I saw visions of rioting happening in France. Well, check out this footage. This comes after football fans, better known in America as soccer, and their reaction after the game. Kind of reminds me of Philadelphia fans. They win, and then folks aren't able to control their emotions. There we go, friends. Even the happy, happy, joy, joy emotions cause them idiocy of destroying other fellow citizens' properties. This just makes no sense to me. Why would you burn vehicles that belong to other people, your fellow citizens, who might be in that protest with you somewhere? There you are burning their car, and you might not even know they might be in that protest. Just saying, just a thought. It just makes no sense to destroy private or public property. Turn the page to the United States now. From France to the United States, we see this chaos breaking out on the streets of Los Angeles. And in past visions, I saw military on the streets of California. After the fires and Palisades happened, some folks in the comments, mentioned my visions of military because there were some National Guard there. And I responded, that's not what I was saying. What I was seeing was much bigger. A reason for military to really, really be there. Well, this is pretty big, to say the least, when the president sends 2,000 National Guard to take over city streets in California. Because once again, the failed governor and the failed mayor allow things to burn and chaos to continue. It's like they want it. They want it. Now, there's this whole feud happening between Newsom and Trump. Really, really entertaining, again, to say the least. They make our country look like a bunch of clowns. They really do. Get along. And you need them there because look at what they're doing. Look at the footage of what they're doing. They should not wonder why more people have left California in the past years than any other state, by the way. And it's funny how mass media outlets are pushing this narrative that these are peaceful protests. How are they peaceful? How is this at all peaceful, friends? Do tell me. We see once again these hoodlums en masse destroying people's personal property. They're actually spitting in the faces of law enforcement and National Guard. And look at this clown here throwing huge rocks at passing vehicles, smashing several of the windows of these passing vehicles. Friends, this could seriously injure a person, perhaps much worse. What are you thinking? It blows my mind. Again, not able to control their emotions. Going as far to destroy a media press vehicle. A media press vehicle, they parked and they ran into the store to grab some things and they came out to this. Their car totally destroyed. Not to mention that their valuables that were in the car were, of course, stolen. But yeah, by who? Peaceful protesters? We don't need law and order. Newsom, you don't need law and order because you aren't seeming to do a very good job at it. And they even destroyed the little self-driving taxis. I mean, destroy them. Look at this guy beating on the window like crazy. And, what truly bothers me the most would be this guy here waving a foreign flag in the United States of America. And there were some actually were seen stomping and burning American flags in these peaceful protests, while continuing to run around waving flags that make no sense to their agenda whatsoever. If you're fighting for freedom and to be a legal, person in America, you should be waving the American flag. It makes no sense to me. If you want to wave that flag, because I like what this person posted right here on social media, right here. You tell them, girl. You tell them. If you want to wave your flag and you think your country's so great and you're in America burning our cities and disrupting people's lives, I just don't get it. It don't make sense to me. If you're fighting to be an American, you should be out there waving American flags, yelling Constitution or something like that. Makes you wonder. Were they paid to be put in place? Who knows? And if you like, if you like your country's flag, as much as I love the American flag, then perhaps you should go back there and protest in your own country. Burn your own country down. Destroy your own innocent people's property. Not people here. This is just a quick reminder for all of us what happened back in 2020 during the BML so-called peaceful protests. Remember that? That turned into total chaos and destruction, again, burning cities and just ridiculousness. Sadly, this is all going to happen again. It's already happening, but like it did in 2020, maybe even worse, actually. And before I tell you what I see, do you know which president in the United States deported the largest amount of illegals? Don't go Google it. I'll show you in a second. Take a guess. Take a guess. Good guess. And think about this. Being in a country illegally is technically a criminal offense. And criminals are supposed to be arrested. So here's the president speaking. The president that deported more folks than any other president to date in the United States of America, including President Trump. As of now, anyway. As of now. Give a listen.
I continue to believe that the best way to solve this problem is by working together to pass that kind of common sense law. But until that happens, there are actions I have the legal authority to take as president. The same kinds of actions taken by Democratic and Republican presidents before me that will help make our immigration system more fair and more just. Tonight, I'm announcing those actions. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security. Felons, not families. Criminals, not children. Gang members, not a mom who's working hard to provide for her kids. We'll prioritize, just like law enforcement does every day.
Are you surprised? You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be at all. As this same exact thing happens with every president for as long as we can recall. As long as I can recall, anyway. Even Hillary Clinton, when she was attempting to take over the White House, she even talked about, as part of her, trying to win, spoke about, first thing I'm going to do is deport all the illegals. Even Hillary Clinton said it. So, when somebody else does it that they don't like, they weave the story differently. It's just interesting to me. The whole country is really fascinating and interesting. It blows my mind, actually. And I'm all about folks migrating from different places. I'm all about that. I have friends here that are from different countries that have gone through the process. Some of them waited over a decade to get their green card, but they did everything legally to make that happen. I have another friend that's still waiting for that to happen, but they're doing it all the way it's supposed to be done. It's just the way it is. Because I'm all about going to different places and migrating to different places. My great-grandpa fled Germany to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And that's how my great-grandfather on my dad's side came. And he did it legally so that he actually could work as a musician for the Philadelphia Orchestra. So yeah, my great-grandfather played for the Philadelphia Orchestra. And my great-uncle Ray on my grandmother's side fought in Germany against the Germans. And, after also coming to America lately. So I'm all about coming to other countries, but just do it legally. And when you do, wave the American flag, because this is America. Just saying. Now, here's an observation for you. Have you noticed on all the ICE roundups, and maybe this is me again, I'm sure someone will point it out in the comments, but you notice in all these ICE roundups, it appears that they're rounding up and arresting all Latino folks. Right? Am I wrong? Because my question is, what happened to the thousands, and likely thousands upon thousands, of young, military-aged Chinese men that came across the borders? Remember the videos we saw of those? And how they were resistant and didn't want to talk and were hiding something? What about them? Why all the Latinos? I like the Latino people. I like all people, actually. Doesn't matter to me. But what about, if you're gonna do it, you can't pick one. You got to pick them all. Pick all the illegals. You shouldn't pick one race over the other. And again, they may not be doing that, but in all the videos I see of the arrests, it just always seems to be Latino people. I want, personally, China's a huge threat to our country. And we know that they were coming in. All young military-aged Chinese men came across our border. I want to see them being rounded up if they're illegal. Maybe they came and filed papers, but they did come across those borders illegally. Now, Spirit showed me a vision yesterday that some of this farmland that the Chinese has purchased, likely near our military bases in the United States, is now conducting underground training facility for these Chinese troops. So they're in our country right now training, friends, for a potential future attack from within. That was so disturbing when I kind of figured it was an easy guess. They're buying up all the farmland, especially farmland near military installations. It's an easy guess. You don't need to be psychic to figure that out. But I was still surprised when Spirit showed me visions of them like literally training like troops. And I don't know how we're not seeing this or nobody's reporting this. I guess they're hidden away on these farms. Not only that, it felt like they're getting ready for attack if need be. So it wasn't necessarily felt like it was written like it's going to happen. But usually when they do something like this, it's going to happen. They don't waste millions of dollars sending people somewhere and setting up cells for them not to use them at some point. And this was a disturbing vision along with the other details Spirit shared with me, showing me that they are digging underneath these farms. They are digging under these farms, and they are also storing large amounts of drones and other weapons in these secret installations on this farmland being bought up in America by China. That's disturbing to me. That is very disturbing. Especially me living in Arizona, a state that appears to be simply paid for by China. Or at least the veto queen was, Katie Hobbs. Yeah, for sure. Because there was a bill that was just put on her table to ban the Chinese from buying up our land in Arizona, including parts of the Grand Canyon. And guess what? Hobbs vetoed that bill. Of course she did. That should say a whole lot about her. And likely how she actually got that current seat that she's sitting in. A seat that she will not hold much longer. Because people are on to her. And they're on to these fixed things, if you know what I mean. So back to the so-called peaceful protest. Soon we're going to see these criminals attacking federal buildings and law enforcement buildings. Kind of like we saw the law enforcement buildings getting burned in 2020. Kind of like that. And I feel there's actually a group Spirit tuned me into that is planning on planting some type of explosives in multiple places. Washington, D.C., I felt, is in grave danger. And I feel they may be targeting a federal building, perhaps the Capitol building. And this would be like the BLM, dyslexia switches things around, BLM riots in 2020, times 10, friends, times 10. And is it not obvious that this is all being orchestrated by the deep, dark staters? Of course it is. Of course it is. This has all been a part of their plans for a very long time, friends. Remember also, I saw martial law happening in cities across America. Let's hope not. Because if such a case were to happen, and keep this in mind, if martial law is called, your rights are all gone. Every single one of them. They can literally come into your house, take your food, take your water, take your gun. They can take whatever they want. I mean, good luck doing that with some Americans because they're going to come out shooting. No doubt about that. But just be aware that's a big, strong potential. Remember, those illuminated cards show martial law in the United States. Hope I never see it. But I felt like it wasn't the whole country. It was just different cities. Which would make sense if we look at LA and what's happening. If that were to spread, yeah, they could do that. Or if, there was an inside attack on our country, they could do it for that too. Now remember, we have the same astrological transits in United States chart, America's chart, that last occurred during the Civil War, and other transits that last occurred during the signing of the Constitution. And remember my vision, well, a lot of you are new here, but I had a vision of a star falling off the American flag, showing us that states, or at least one state, is going to pull out of the Union. And there's another theory. I have another theory with this, or perhaps a feeling, that I have why a star could fall off the flag. Another reason why a star could potentially fall off. Doesn't necessarily mean leaving the Union, which would make sense though. Leaving the Union and states breaking apart makes sense to those transits, again, for the Constitution, Civil War time periods, that there could be civil conflict amongst states. That would make complete sense, and even a change or shift in our Constitution, which we don't want anything changed. Maybe add something to it, but don't be taking anything out. Don't even think about taking anything out. But that's what they want. You know, the globalists around the world fear United States and Americans more than anybody. Americans have more pals in their home than the militaries. Yeah, apparently that's what I read statistically recently. Like, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. So another theory I had about the star falling off the flag. This could be related to my predictions of the West Coast earthquakes and tsunamis. Could be. Just think about that. Perhaps sweeping so much land into the ocean that we shrink by a couple states. Or one of the states shrink, and then the remaining parts that remain end up joining the neighboring states. Just a theory, just a thought. Another thought, June 14th and 15th. Are dates that we previously mentioned in my June forecast. Those dates are approaching just this coming weekend, so what could possibly go wrong, friends? What could possibly go wrong? Well, a lot could, and likely will go wrong. So stay on the down low this weekend, friends. Bigger protests are going to break out this coming weekend, and a potential for several fear-like attacks. Not just in America, but happening in other places across the globe. We may even, this is coming to me now, see, they'll call them fear attacks, or the other word, happening within Russia. Perhaps even in Moscow. Like, remember, it makes me think of a few years ago where they had the pow that happened on the streets of Moscow in one of their entertainment places or something. Makes me think of that. And that, again, just came to me now. So bigger protests and things that are happening. And remember, I had visions of attacks within the United States, France, and other allied countries. It felt simultaneous to me. Like they were happening like all at the same time, or one hit after the other, hitting us and hitting France. And I had visions of large explosions and visions of men in masks on the streets, city streets with pow-pows, like they were on a mission. And I sure hope this never becomes a reality, friends, anywhere, especially here. But by the way things are going right now, the way the incoming energies are, the astrological transits, the numerology, it's all going to bring an array of very big, surprising, and quite shocking events to our summer months. It's winter months for our friends in the Southern Hemisphere, by the way. I just saw 30 inches of snow fell in the higher peaks of New Zealand. I didn't know they had higher peaks in New Zealand, so I learned something new when I saw that report. So this coming weekend, I feel major gatherings, protests, and more rioting hitting the following places: Chicago, my friends in Philadelphia, bunker down, Philly friends, Baltimore, Maryland, Houston, Texas, Washington, D.C., Charlotte, North Carolina. Is it Charlotte in North Carolina or South Carolina? I forget. I think it's North Carolina. Phoenix, and many others. And they were already gathering in protest in Phoenix. I'm sure there's lots of illegals there. I have no doubt. And then Miami just popped in my mind too. Miami. It's going to get out of hand, says the spirits, even more so when we step into the month of July. But June 14th is Flags Day. Flags Day. Yeah, because we're seeing a lot of flags flying in America, and they're not all American flags either. June 14th is Flag Day here in the United States. It also happens to be the President of the United States' birthday on Flag Day. Yep, he's a Gemini. But there's also supposed to be a big parade that's supposed to be happening in Washington, D.C. for Flag Day. And I got to tell you, they better lock Washington, D.C. down really, really well. And I would advise everyone to stay very far away from these places, especially parades. Remember what I said about parades and warned, and we saw what just happened to the parade in, where was that? England? I think it was England. The parade after the football match or something. Or was it Germany? One of those places. But we just saw that take place. a couple weeks ago or last month. So they better lock down D.C. really, really well. And friends, again, stay away from places. And if you are going to go to the places, I mean, I'm all about having fun and going to the parade. Just be mindful where you're at and stay, in a place where you can view away from crowds in the side of the street. You want to avoid where a vehicle could potentially, come rolling through. As long as you're mindful, you're good to go. And I see vehicles, once again, being used as weapons, likely this coming weekend. New York City came to my mind very strongly as well. Protests are going to spread from one nation to another. Soon we're going to see cities across the globe with people packed like sardines in the streets calling for peace and togetherness. That's a good thing. That'll be the peaceful protest, though. What's happening here in America right now, that is not peaceful protesting. Sorry, not peaceful protesting. Not. They can say what they want in the media. It is not peaceful when they are lighting things on fire. And I saw video of them with hammers chipping away at the concrete and breaking stuff apart. Like, get a life. Go out and get a job. Or if you don't belong here, then go back to where you came from. Something. It just blows my mind how destructive humans can be. And it's not just the protesters. I mean, look how destructive the conflicts are. It just blows my mind how destructive humans are. I'm not one of them. Most of you are not one of them. Maybe all of you are not one of them. Wild, wild stuff. So protests again are going to spread from one nation to the other. And in turn, this is all actually a really big part of the awakening of the people. Yeah, I know it seems to be a pretty crappy way to awaken the people and awaken the sleepers. But sometimes it takes the absolute worst in order to bring out the absolute best in others. And sometimes people got to go through the absolute worst before they actually see the absolute good in themselves and everything else. And that's what's going on in these coming months. And over the next few years. This isn't a short-term thing. This is a cycle. Remember, Spirit told us 2025 to 2032. I was told that back in 2017. 2017, I think it was. But yeah. And I talked to the shaman about that period of time when I was in Peru in 2018. When I mentioned that date, his mouth dropped. He couldn't believe that I got that same window of time that he was getting. So when I go to Peru in a few months, I'm going to interview Freddie Puma about that, ask him about his feelings about that window of time, and we'll go deep. Can't wait to share that experience with you all. So remember, we discussed these coming food shortages as well. And even food riots, which we did see play out for the people in Gaza over the past few weeks. But is there more? Is there more coming? But what if what happened, say, in Gaza with the food riots happened in our cities? With what's happening and, say looters and then there's no food. Like here in the United States, Spirit has been warning us since 2020 to always remain stocked up and prepared for any scenario. Well, take a listen to what this gentleman has to say. This guy happens to be a truck driver who delivers food to big cities. This could be quite concerning. Give a listen.
Morning. I'm a truck driver for one of the major grocery distributors on the East Coast. And I've been off for the weekend. And I came into work this morning and there's nothing for us to do because apparently our computer system has been down for several days. And considering all the news about the riots in Los Angeles and the speculation that it may spread, makes me wonder if we weren't hacked on purpose to deprive the DC and the Baltimore areas of food just to see if the natives would get restless.
So once again, friends, stock up. Always good to ensure that you have a backup method to cook your food, flashlights, whatever else you may perhaps need, that could last you at least a week due to any emergency. Even a backup source of power if you can. Whatever you can afford to do will be enough, but you just got to do it. And let me know what you think in the comments down below. Moving on to moving on to some other important news and some reflections. We now have China threatening the United States, while at the same time, the United States, we just had 2 Chinese students who were apprehended with this very serious pathogen that could literally destroy agriculture, harm animals, cause digestive issues, cause problems for humans, and even diseases, and, of course, fatalities. Now, think about this, friends. They are the ones that were caught. And I said this earlier. What about the thousands and thousands who illegally crossed the border from China, and not even just China, other places that may have ill intent for Americans? Once again, what about them? Our biggest threat is not Russia. It's definitely not North Korea. And the biggest threat, 100%, of course, is China. To all nations, not just America. China has a plan. I've been telling you this for years. I've also stated in the past that I feel a Pearl Harbor type of attack is coming to America. And some people think that was a flag that flew ever so falsely. The Pearl Harbor thing. Don't know. It was before my time. But regardless, Spirit also did tell us that flags would fly ever so falsely in the near future to push us into conflict. I just forgot all about that. Just remember that. So is this coming to our doorsteps? Is it on our doorsteps? This potential attack on America? I can tell you, I certainly hope not. But again, the astrology, the numerology, and the intense energies that are flowing in now and in the coming months show that major events and major global shifts and changes are here. They're here, which means they're happening. And it just happens little by little and stronger. And so we hold in the light, friends, that these shifts that are happening and that are going to happen and these changes are for the overall good of all. That's all we need to hold in the light. It's all for the good of all. When we see bad things happen, it's all for the good of all. In the end, it's all for the good of all. Because it will be all for the good of all in the end. Whenever that end arrives. And, not only that, overall, the good of all, including the good of Mother Earth, of course. And I have no doubt that we will eventually, might not be till we step into the 2030s, but we will eventually see this all pan out to be a good thing. Well, the Earth will lead to a good place. Let's put it that way. And if you think it couldn't appear any worse, well, Iran, according to the media anyway, but this is pretty obvious. They resisted their nuclear deals with the United States completely and Israel, basically giving both of countries the middle finger, saying, nope, we're going to enrich uranium and do what we want, and there ain't nothing you're going to do about it. I say, hey, if you want them not to have one, maybe everybody else should get rid of theirs, because I think they're an awful thing. You can't pressure other countries not to have something that you have. It just doesn't make sense to me. What makes you the boogeyman boss? You should be working on denuclearizing everybody instead of telling somebody they can't nuclearize when everybody else is. It just makes no sense to me. This world's so weird. It really is so strange. So they resisted. They gave 2 countries the middle finger, and this is all topped off. If you haven't heard this report, that China just sent 800 missiles, friends, 800 of them to the Iranians. What are they going to do with them? I told you there's a plan being orchestrated. While Iran still continues to experience, and you don't see this either unless you look at alternative media like I do, but they're experiencing large explosions and other chaos sweeping across Iran right now still. And it's more happening within the country. It's not like, Israel, it's all happening, within their country. One regime against the other, basically. And there's going to be a regime change when 2 Iranian leaders perish, according to the spirits. One will perish in a chopper or a plane crash. Boy, does that sound familiar. And then the other is going to be through a targeted assassination of some sort. Interesting. But I don't know how far out that is. I don't feel like that's necessarily in the very, very near future. The one may be. the chopper or plane thing. The other one may not be for a while. So are we about to see another huge conflict break out? Is the United States about to enter into a major conflict? Perhaps we already are in that conflict, friends. As I said earlier, that really does appear to be the case. Conflict starts with trade wars, economic stuff, and then people get desperate, and then they do desperate, less than smart things. Like they are doing in Los Angeles right now. Less than smart. On both sides. Just like chill out, people. Just chill out. On both sides. And I feel some type of battle is happening on U.S. grounds. I feel it. I feel like it's happening. And it's not National Guard. It's more like actual military being, called. And again, it's some type of attack. Perhaps a flag, again, that flies ever so falsely. Blaming maybe Iran when actually China would be the culprit. Again, I'd rather be wrong. This hat makes my head so itchy. It's a different hat this week. Other hat is bent crooked. I don't know what happened. It looks funny. I couldn't wear it today. So China's going to continue to launch cyber attacks. Big ones. Against big fashion-related companies and corporations across the globe. They're going to launch cyber attacks against and on government systems. Like, say, FBI systems or other countries, not just the United States. They're going to force shutdowns of banks from cyber attacks. And when these cyber attacks come, they're going to come on very, very strong, friends. So remember, when they do come, and they do come on strong, remember me telling you, it's China. 100% China. And North Korea is helping them, says Spirits. North Korea is helping them. Of course they are. So do not feed into whatever the media narrative pushes out when these events take place, because you heard it here first. Also in the news, we have the Pow Pow event that took place on the streets of Las Vegas, Nevada. Viva Las Vegas, friends. According to one of the tribe members that left a comment down below in the comments about this apparent shootout over social media drama. I think it might have been two social media drama queens. Pow-powing it out, friends. And this is not what I was talking about. And they put that in there because I talked about a big pow-pow event coming to Vegas. The last one that happened many, many years ago from high atop of the building was in my predictions that year. That was horrific. Shooting down at the concert that was taking place. Y'all remember that. Well, what I've seen most recently in the past few months about some kind of big event taking place in Vegas, that would not be it. That was two people having an argument and a pow-pow. So that definitely would not be it. But that just goes to show, Spirit said to me, the devil is in Vegas. One of them anyway. There's many demons. But yeah, there's the devil in Vegas. A new one just arrived, so something's coming. Something's just coming. I don't know what it is. But I also believe what I saw in past visions was multiple shooters. And it felt more like a fear attack of some sort. And I have also said that there's going to be more cyber attacks on Vegas coming. I said this in the past, and it played out. Was that last summer or the year before? I lose track of time. But I mentioned it, and then they had their big cyber attacks. Well, I feel that it's going to get bigger for Vegas with these cyber attacks, and perhaps even the amount of money or the amount of targeted places. It felt big, like a big amount. So I don't know if it's a big amount of people, a big amount of money, a big amount of cyber attacks all hitting the city. But Vegas. And I can't help but to feel once again that China is the one responsible. I also see, speaking of Vegas, major storms, floods, and rescues around the Vegas area, not necessarily directly in the city, some of it in the city. And a huge blackout is also coming to Vegas. We also have more doomsday oarfish washing upon the shores. More than one, friends. That's pretty significant. We had several. We had the doomsday fish, the oarfish, wash up in Tasmania. I talked about that last week, or at least in my weather predictions. We had more wash up, New Zealand, and even in India. And I have no doubt that we are going to see at least two more of these oarfish, doomsday fish, washing upon shores across the globe in the coming week or two. Probably just within the coming week. According to ancient beliefs, especially that of the Japanese, the oarfish, better known again as the doomsday fish, is because it's this big sign of an impending doom. And in their beliefs, it's from Mother Nature, a sign signifying a huge earthquake and tsunami event. Something that's been in my predictions for several years now. And some of my predictions take 2 years to come into play. Remember my visions going back to even late 2023 and early 2024. The Pacific, the West Coast of the United States, and, well, maybe India and Australia too, being that the fish are washing up there. And then we had one wash up in Japan, I forget how long ago. So again, that's according to their ancient beliefs. Spirit pointed to this window of time. And look what's been happening around the globe during this window of time, including the predicted eruption that occurred at Mount Etna. We see even Mount Kilauea giving off quite a show. Not a huge eruption, so not really significant to my past predictions because I saw a huge eruption. That hasn't happened. And now we see an uptick in earthquake activity. We just had this amazingly huge volcanic eruption. This eruption blast out of Guatemala. Look at the size of this blast. Volcanic eruptions have begun, friends, and these are just small in comparison to what is to come this year and in coming years. We had a 6.3 quake hit Colombia. A 6.4 quake shook Chile, both areas in which we warned in the past. And now activity is beginning to flare up in Idaho. Hey ho, I'm from Idaho. Yeah, I'm not from Idaho. I'm from Pennsylvania. But that was a commercial. Anyway, yeah, around Yellowstone National Park of all places. Another area that I've warned. I warned Yellowstone specifically, not Idaho. I never said anything about Idaho that I can recall. Maybe I did, I don't know. But I definitely said specifically Yellowstone National Park. I saw visions of closures. Spirit even told us there'd be closures coming to Yellowstone National Park due to dangerous activity. Also, closures that will come due to floods and even a fire in one area of the park. And I don't feel concerned at all, and I never have, and I've been telling you this for a while, that this big super volcano is going to erupt. Don't see it happening. Not in my lifetime, friends. And I would hope not, because that'd be the end of us all. That'd be the same as dropping a nuke right on top of us. Not happening. Definitely not happening. The biggest eruptions, though, are about to come. And you know where they're going to come from? The ocean. As I said in my weather prediction video, go back and check it out. There's a lot in that video, but 3 big volcanic eruptions. 1, 2, and then the third one under the waters. The northern Pacific, 2 huge blasts are going to come from the sea, says the Spirit. They will be months apart from one another, but 2 huge blasts. I'm going to say that it's going to be the Pacific, Northern Pacific, that I've been saying for a while now. That'll probably be early July. It's tsunamis and such. And then the other one, months later, will probably be October, November, and that'll probably be the West Coast one of the United States, North America. I hope not, but it's in the past predictions. Also, another interesting news, the state of Montana passed the law HS 350. Now declaring that the United Nations, the WHO, and the WEF now have no jurisdiction in that state. Damn, Montana, you go. We might have to flee to Montana in the near future, friends, especially if there's an outbreak again. Yeah, because you know that about that whole treaty that they're put in. It was more of WEF, really. Wasn't it WEF or was it the WHO? Whatever it was. They basically give them control of everything. And Montana, kudos to you for saying no. Now, at the same time, Georgia, what the heck is going on with you folks in Georgia? You're as bad as the veto queen, Katie Hobbs, letting China continue to buy up our land while Georgia passes a law that's now protecting chemical companies like Monsanto and Bayer from lawsuits due to their toxic poisons and poisoning of the people, the land, and the waters. Georgia, what's wrong with you? Who paid? Somebody got paid off big time by these big chemical companies. Wow. In other news, too, there was a ferry boat that sunk. Remember my visions? I saw a sinking boat that reminded me of a tour boat or a ferry boat. I didn't look up where it was. I just saw it quickly earlier in the week. And I told you water type events are going to be huge. Boats, even disasters on the water, whether it be oil disaster on the water, the tsunamis that are coming, water is a huge focus. My slip in the bathtub, your slip that you may have had in the bathtub, the leaky sink, the busted pipe, water is a big focus, friends. And that's continuous for the next few months. The whole year, really, but really so the next few months. So be aware, especially if you're out on the water. Look at what happened with the poor girl that was hit with the jet ski. Or the person, I don't know if it was a girl. I know it was a girl that did it, I believe. This is it. This is what's playing out. So be careful in those waters, friends. Be careful. The other thing is the Diddy case is coming to a close soon. Will Diddy actually walk free? You're going to be surprised at this answer, friends. Because speaking of creepy, I have this very sudden feeling that he's going to walk off. Yeah. Something's going to happen. But remember what I said in the past. He's still not going to go free. He might walk off, but he's still not going to be free. He will be at grave danger. And I don't think his time on this planet is going to last all that much longer. 2 years tops. And I don't even think it'll last that long. But it'll be something to keep an eye on. And watch the distractions that come around the same time that case comes to a close, says the spirits. Watch for distractions. That's probably a distraction in itself, actually. And some predictions for you, a couple other things to mention. If the United States goes into Iran, or even gives Israel, because Israel's sitting back asking the United States, just tell us when, we'll do it. Just tell us when, give us permission. Even though they don't really need permission, because they'll probably do it anyway. But if either one does that, this is going to activate a global conflict, and I assure you it will. And it's also going to activate some of these sleeper cells across the world, whether they be here or wherever. I've been warning for the past 3 to 4 years about these, probably 4 years now, these sleeper cells, and being set up in this country and allied countries. And we may see China give the green light for the attack on America, with America at the same time that they move in on Taiwan. Maybe that's why they sent their little sleeper cells in here, to stop the United States from doing anything. The biggest threat, too, is cyber attacks. That is really the biggest threat of all, especially they've been working hard, China, in hacking our infrastructures. Not just here, again, all your countries. Australia, it doesn't matter where you are. And also, I still feel that it's inevitable that we soon are going to see some type of a nuclear explosion. I hate to say it. I saw that mushroom cloud in past visions, which makes me feel that tactical nukes are coming within the coming months. And I really hope not. I don't want to see that happen. None of us do. Because nobody wins in any conflict, especially that kind of conflict. Again, so let's hold in the light that it stops before it happens. But it goes back to me seeing those visions in the past. I also see some huge blackouts coming to Los Angeles, of all places. Of course! The grid in California. Be aware, Californians. Because it's like that song, when the lights go out in the city, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And it feels to me like somebody's purposely pulling the plug. Like to make a small chaos a bigger chaos. That's what it felt like to me. It felt very shady. Like that it could even be connected to the governor doing it. It's just, again, an assumption. Not even an assumption. Observation. Possibility, potential. Could be anybody, but it feels like it's from within. So, be prepared, friends, no matter where you are. And going back to this coming weekend, I believe we may see some type of huge blackouts take place on the 14th and 15th of June, especially on Sunday. It's the day of the sun, ever so bright, right? Well, not something, and if not, something big is going out. It might not be power, but it might be something else, like some other cyber attack, or cell phones go out somewhere. But I'm not sure if this is United States or abroad, but I feel it's coming this weekend. And the other thing that Spirit says is the true fireworks. They're going to begin, of course, on July 4th. Hold on tight, friends. The fireworks show's about to begin, and it's going to end with a heck of a grand finale. Well, friends, that's what I have for you for this Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time. I very much hope that you enjoyed, and please do click that thumbs up love button to show your love, to get this out to more people. Share it on your social media, share it with others, follow me on all my other platforms, and if you're a new subscriber, welcome to the tribe, baby. You will not be disappointed. Don't forget to sign up for the free newsletter down below. Check out my weather predictions from last week, my other predictions from the week before. I'll have channeled predictions coming out in my next video whenever I get a moment to do that. I had this abscess in my tooth this weekend, which is interesting. I just had my teeth done 2 months ago, and I couldn't focus on meditating. I wanted to. It was the plan, and it's still a little sore. So, and I have a busy schedule coming up this week. But I will do some meditations and put out some more interesting information, predictions, prophecy, and truth to the tribe. And remember, again, if you want to vibe with the tribe and you haven't already, smash the subscribe, the bell, and the all. And again, I very much hope you enjoyed this episode number 170 of Teatime. Until the next time, friends, remember, celebrate life, celebrate you. Be kind to others as you wish others be kind to you. And be bold, be true, be kind. Be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly and have a beautiful rest of your day and an amazing week. Namaste, friends, and much love. Much love.